Coming to you from the Lydia Media Studios in the heart of Lewiston, Auburn, it's Lydia's Lunch Bunch, LA's afternoon morning show with Mark, Sarah, and Pam. We're covering news and events in the greater LA area and talking to the people making a difference in our community. Feel free to share your comments, questions, or suggestions via email at podcast@lydiamediallc.com.
And today's show is brought to you by United Piping, serving residential and commercial customers with new installations and repairs. Call today and schedule your oil and gas boiler cleanings at 754-4556. UPI, the best plumbers around. Also brought to you by Rupert's Beverage and Redemption. When it comes to beer, wine, and spirits, don't botch it, squatch it. At 5 locations in Lewiston, Auburn, and Oxford. Learn more at rupersbeverage.com. And remember, the party starts at Ruper's.
We are joined in studio today by the owner of Hebert Constuction, Tim Hebert, and board chair of the Maine Jobs Council, Joe Edwards. How you guys doing today?
Just fine.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to Tim and Joe coming up here in just a bit. But before we get there, let's take a look at some headlines for Thursday, April 24th.
35-year-old Lewiston native Jordan Wood announced he will run as a Democrat for the U.S. Senate seat held by Susan Collins as the 72-year-old senator seeks a 6th term. Wood founded Democracy First, a bipartisan pro-democracy organization, and served as chief of staff to former U.S. Representative Katie Porter.
The state of Maine is reminding residents that May 7th is the deadline for Real ID compliant identification to fly domestically. According to the Transportation Security Administration website, travelers who do not have their Real ID or another acceptable form of ID may face delays, additional screenings, and may not be allowed into the security checkpoint.
Oh, boy.
Yikes.
Here we go.
The city of Auburn released its sweeping schedule. Sweeping! Which means no parking signage will appear in many neighborhoods. The process cleans up winter sand and salt, prevents storm drains from clogging, and minimizes pollution. The schedule is available at auburnmaine.gov.
And the U.S. Senate unanimously passed a resolution introduced by Senator Angus King, marking the week of April 19th through the 27th as National Park Week. The resolution seeks to boost awareness of the value and availability of recreational areas while encouraging people across the country to spend time in America's treasured national parks.
That made me wag my tail. I got so excited. Oh.
Sarah,
Yes.
is it time for the weather?
I don't know. I'm scared. What did you do? Rain or shine, it's all okay. Grab your uke and start the day. Clouds may come or skies turn blue. Weather's fun with me and you. The sun is bright and storms may brew. Every day's a brand new view. You don't need perfect skies above. Hey, just a song and a little love. Mark, how could you?
There's a lot more words in that than famous people birthdays.
How
It is.
that.
It's my new favorite thing.
I feel betrayed.
What are you talking about? It's great.
It's not great, but it's...
Let's get some opinions.
Oh, no.
Joe?
I thought it was
What's
terrific.
terrific, right?
Thank you.
Fantastic. Way to brighten your day.
All right.
I could
Okay.
listen to that
I'm
every day.
Extremely embarrassed.
Now you can.
I'll email you the MP3
Oh,
before
no.
you leave.
Oh, no.
Use it as your ringtone.
Everybody has their phones on silent now, Mark. Get with it.
Well, let's
the
talk
weather.
about that weather.
Plenty of sunshine today with a high of 65 and a low of 38. Chance of rain tomorrow with a high of 69 and a low of 43. Rain throughout the weekend with highs in the mid-50s.
And that was the weather.
Oh, no. Rain or shine, it's all okay. Grab your uke and start the day. Is this
Clouds may
retribution
come
for
with
this
skies
time?
turn
Blue. Weather's fun with me and you. The sun is bright and storms may brew. Every day's a brand new view. You don't need perfect skies above. Hey, just a song and a little love. Wow. Maybe we could just use the first half of the song. It's so much.
I think we need to extend it.
I don't.
We need more lyrics.
Okay. In sports. With Jason Tatum out with a wrist injury, Jaylen Brown stepped up with a game-high 36 points as the Celtics beat the Magic 109-100. Boston leads the best-of-7 series 2-0, and Game 3 is tomorrow night in Orlando.
Celtics guard Peyton Pritchard won the NBA Sixth Man Award, receiving 82 of 100 possible first-place votes.
Whoa.
That's awesome. The Red Sox lost to the Seattle Mariners 8-5 last night. They'll play again this afternoon at 1:30 with Garrett Crochet on the bump for Boston.
On the bump.
On the bump. Sarah has come so far.
Thank you.
With her sports lingo.
Even more so since you write it for her.
You write it down.
Oh, there goes our
Makes it
secret.
easy. Yeah. If it's hockey, I understand it. If it's basketball, I understand it. When he throws baseball at me, I'm a little tough. I'm like, I don't know.
CMCC softball lost both games of a doubleheader to Southern Maine Community College, 9-4 and 10-0. The Mustangs will host a twin bill against the New Hampshire Technical Institute tonight, with first pitches scheduled for 6 and 7:30.
And our Maine Nordiques will host the stinking Maryland Black Bears tomorrow and Saturday for Games 3 and 4 of their best-of-5 series. The teams are tied at 1 game apiece. If necessary, Game 5 will be played Monday night in Maryland. But guys, fill that barn and it won't be necessary.
Yes, Saturday.
Just take care of business. All they got to do is win Friday and then pack the barn on Saturday.
We'll be good.
Do it.
Good to go.
Fine. Mm-hmm. And the NFL draft is tonight at 8 p.m. Patriots currently have the 4th overall pick.
4th.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did they do trade it
We
away?
did that well?
I thought they traded. Did they trade it away for something? Did they have a
No.
first
Do you remember the last game of the season?
Oh,
when
geez, those idiots.
If they lost, they would have had the number 1 pick.
That's right.
And they chose to win.
They were like, we're going to win this time.
And the coach got fired. That's right.
That's how that went down.
Are you guys Patriots fans?
Used to be.
What happened, Tim?
I don't know. It used to be way more interesting when they won all the time.
That was great, right?
Yeah.
That was a fun 2 decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were spoiled.
Something happened.
I think we were spoiled with the Patriots, the Red Sox, the Bruins, and the Celtics.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely were.
Yeah.
Things are sort of falling off the rails the
Yeah, a
last
little
couple
bit.
years.
Those were some
Patriots, the Bruins.
Those are some good times. Oh, by the way, after the Bruins' last place finish, they have confirmed that they are raising ticket prices.
You saw that yesterday.
So,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Well, not only are they the most expensive ticket, now they're the most expensive ticket plus.
Yeah.
You want me to text Jeremy and just see what's up with that?
I don't know.
Come on now.
I think I may need a new team. That is your news, weather, and sports. And right now it is time for the podcast segment that is
Sweeping. Oh yeah.
just like the city of Auburn. It's time for famous people birthdays.
They're famous. It's their birthdays. It's famous people birthdays. It's famous people birthdays. See, that's concise. That says exactly what this segment is about. It's short and sweet.
Do you guys have a favorite between the weather song and famous people birthdays? Or
I like the weather song.
all right.
You're outnumbered, Sarah.
I like the famous people birthday song, but it's probably mostly because of the ukulele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
See,
you can't go wrong with the ukulele.
It's poppy in that one. You
Yeah.
don't hear it as much in the weather song.
Jack Blades of Night Ranger is 71 years old today.
Who dat?
We all what?
Who is that?
Pam.
I'm sorry.
Sister Christian,
Oh, Sister Christian.
All right.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
the one.
actor and singer and director Barbara Streisand.
I know that one.
83, you know Babs?
Yeah.
Yentl.
Pam? Yentel? Mm-hmm. Yep, all right. And Shirley MacLaine is 91 years old today.
Oh, I loved her in
great.
Steel Magnolias.
Yeah.
Weezer. Remember Weezer? Oh, she's so funny. She had that dog that's hair kept falling
Just hit Weezer. Right. When
She was so mad.
she was so mad.
Oh, Shirley MacLaine. Now she talks to dead people, right?
Right.
Is that her thing now?
What?
She's like a psychic
Medium?
medium or something.
I did not know that.
I don't know.
Well, she's
Yeah.
getting closer, so
91.
Yikes.
Jeez, Pam. It's dark.
Now let's take a look at some OTDs. On this day, 21 years ago in 2004, Mario Lopez married Allie Landry. But their marriage quickly failed and was annulled 2 weeks later after Mario admitted to being unfaithful to her at his bachelor party.
darn
Mario.
bachelor parties.
Elsie Slater.
Elsie Slater.
What was his name?
I don't know.
AC Slater. AC Slater.
21 years ago on this day in 2004, Eli Manning was selected by the San Diego Chargers as the number 1 NFL draft pick. They traded him less than an hour later to the New York Giants, and he would go on to beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, at least Mario Lopez beat Eli Manning. Like, he only made it a couple hours. Mario Lopez made it a couple weeks with his connection. Just saying.
Here you go, Pam. 36 years ago on this day in 1989, Massachusetts declared New Kids on the Block Day.
Yay! Oh. Yep. We got the right stuff.
I'm glad I recorded that. That's going to be a good job.
Yeah. Play that instead of the weather song.
There you go. 51 years ago on this day in 1974, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were established as an NFL franchise. And they had a rough go first few years. Do you guys remember that? The Bucs and their coach, John McKay, had the most legendary press conference when a reporter asked him, he said, "What do you think of your team's execution?" And John McKay said, "I'm in favor of it." So good. that team was 0-14.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
My favorite press conference moment ever. You can't top
Did he
that.
say it like Bill Belichick, like with the straight stone face?
Yeah. He was not, there was no smile. He had just lost his 14th game of the season.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. There you go. Those are your FPBs and OTDs for April the 24th.
Whether you want a sit-down meal or a grab-and-go, Pat's Pizza in Auburn offers delicious sandwiches, pasta, salads, and pizza at family-friendly prices. Pat's Pizza, serving the L.A. area since 1985. Open daily from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. at 85 Center Street in Auburn. Online at patsauburn.com.
Now we shift focus fully to our guests in studio. Owner of Hebert Construction, Tim Hebert, and board chair of the Maine Jobs Council, Joe Edwards. And Tim, let's start with you. Let's just get a little bit of background on what you're about and what Hebert Construction is all about.
I'm third generation. My cousin Simon is fourth generation. We've been in business since 1943. My grandfather started the company. So I've had the fortunate opportunity to be able to kind of see some multi-generational succession planning throughout my career, being able to kind of absorb that wisdom, of my father, my uncle, my cousin, my older cousin, and so forth. So I feel very fortunate to be part of that. We are a growing company. We're located in Lewiston, Maine, as well as Portland, Maine, and we work around the state, employ a lot of people. We're doing pretty well and making a difference on the things that we do.
You have a lot of big projects going on in Lewiston right now.
We do have a lot. Been great to be, doing a lot of work in our hometown. I'm very proud of that. And we venture out of the state a lot. And I don't know, about 5-10 years ago, people in Lewiston didn't really know what we did because we did a lot of work outside of Lewiston. So it's great to be doing more work here. And we'd like to continue that as well.
And you're passionate about this area.
I love Lewiston. I grew up here. I had a great experience as a kid here. When I talk to people that are Mainers but not from the Lewiston-Auburn area, as you can imagine, there's a little stigma from an outside opinion looking in. But, Lewiston's great people. As we were growing, we've been growing steady since the beginning, but really kind of exploded in the last 5 years. We had to make a decision as to, where were we going to be? What were we going to be? What are we all about? And at the end of the day, and at the time we were buying a new office in Portland and expanding the Portland office, and we were in a warehouse in the outskirts of Lewiston, and we just did some self-reflecting and decided that our people are all from here, mostly. Most of our people, majority of our people from central Maine, and this is our home, and we wanted to be a big part of Lewiston. And we moved into the downtown right above Da Vinci's, and it's been an amazing transition. And just trying to spark some interest in the downtown urban environment. I think it's a great opportunity for growth, and Lewiston Auburn's, I think, is poised to be a major player in the state's opportunity for growing our local economy.
What caused the increase in business for the past 5 years?
I don't know, just trying to do the right thing, honesty, trust, building relationships. The relationships grow. People here, word of mouth, is probably our biggest marketing tool. And so, we try to do the right thing. We try to We try to stand behind our products. We don't think about, warranty as a 1-year deal and then we're done. If doing the right thing means, if you're doing it for the right reasons, in Maine, you're going to get respect, and that goes a long way. And I think that mentality is what allows us to continue to be in business. And I also say, our business, we're in the business of people, just like everybody else. And, we employ a lot of people in a lot of different positions in the company. And, it's no longer about me. It's really about everybody that makes a difference in the company. We just have great people.
Yeah.
And we talk about all the time, this people that have institutional knowledge in our company. I've got guys that work with me, as project managers that they were my boss in the field when I was in high school, and they've leveled up in the company, and we're doing so much with, trying to train everybody and build, programs for career development at every level of the game, and seeing people, move into senior positions from, being, in the field, I think has the ability to inspire others. And, they feel like everybody is at our company for a reason. And I think that passion it spreads throughout the company and makes us, a great company.
Mm. Yeah. You've invested in the company, but then the people within it and the community, and it's a perfect recipe, I would say.
I think something else that you do really well is when you take a project, it appears to me from your website, you take into account what is already here and what you can do with what is already here. I'm seeing a lot of projects that you've worked on that are renovations of existing buildings here in the cities of Lewiston, Auburn, buildings that have a lot of historical meaningfulness to the people in the community. And I think that people can connect with a company that continues to support the history and the heritage of the community while they're creating new spaces for people to occupy. I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a better definition than I'm about to say. Maybe I should stop right there. No, we do a lot of historical restorations. We do a lot of medical work, which is kind of a revolving door, all around the state of Maine. And now we're really doing a lot of housing. Housing as a very diverse cross section of the market. Where, as you can see in Lewiston, we're building a lot of affordable housing. Mm-hmm. We transformed downtown. My cousin Simon spoke at a chamber event a few months ago, and the project that Avesta put forward in the Wedgwood block downtown, which you can see on our website. We've redefined our website, and you can see kind of a flyover of that. Had an exponential improvement to the downtown and the surrounding areas because people around that weren't even connected to the project started fixing up their properties. Mm-hmm. And it's just, a rising tide raises all ships, and that is what is happening in Lewiston. We're seeing it happen at a big scale. People have like this bad stigma of affordable housing, but these are all people that are working.
Right.
They're all people that they're what Joe and I refer to as, foundational jobs. It could be a librarian, a teacher, anything.
Right.
And so I feel like we've made at Hebert Construction, we've made a conscientious effort over the last few years to really focus on what it is that we do, because so much comes over the bow, and you want to feel like you're doing something for the right reason. I think when you do that you have the opportunity to be able to have an impact that's greater than yourself. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do all the time.
Yeah. Joe Edwards, let's get a little bit of background on you and what the Maine Jobs Council is all about.
Well, I'm an attorney. I was the insurance superintendent years ago during the comp wars. And since then, I've worked with probably between 150 and 200 mid-market Maine employers on various insurance and legislative projects. That group became somewhat frustrated, I think, over the years with the gridlock and the policies that were being implemented in Augusta that made it more and more difficult for them to compete regionally and nationally. And as a result, we decided to form the Maine Jobs Council, which is a data-driven advocacy group supporting foundational jobs. And Tim mentioned those jobs are basically in manufacturing, construction, transportation, energy, farming, fishing, forestry. They're the jobs that add value or bring money into Maine. And there's been a gap, I think, in the development of public policy in terms of having hard data on, first of all, hard data on Maine's performance, and secondly, hard data on Maine's standing competitively vis-a-vis other states and other regions in the country. We try to fill that gap.
And is this a partnership?
Yes, I'm part of the board as well as some of my colleagues. So everybody, people that own businesses in Maine, as well as part of Maine Transportation Association, places like that. So we all have a common interest in the same thing. Mm-hmm. We're all trying to be a sustainable company. Costs are continuing to rise, as we all well know, in every aspect of our lives. And, trying to find people, because we're all in the people business, no matter what.
Yeah.
We're all in the people business. And, Maine is challenging because of we just don't have the population. Mm. And everybody lives in southern Maine. And so, we have such an opportunity geographically to be able to have, to be able to expand our local economy in different areas of the state. But it's challenging. So we're in the people business, and we need more people. And, the things that the Maine Job Council is supporting is how can the state be involved in that discussion? It's like a public-private partnership, I think, is what we really need. Joe, you and I talked a little bit about this yesterday. It seems like there's so much polar opposition when you look at legislation today. You vote somebody in, and all of a sudden, like, it goes one completely opposite direction, and there's gridlock, and all these things are happening. And we're all trying to say, how do we just do this together? Why can't we just find a common ground? And I feel like that's what the Maine Jobs Council is trying to do, is just educate people in Maine about what really is going on and what we can do to impact it. My take on it is that Joe can probably do a much better job of, kind of talking about the major categories that we're talking about that Maine needs to try to improve upon. I break that down into what are some tangible things that we can do right away, and what are things that are beyond our control, but we need to be able to influence the direction of that.
Yeah.
And those are just lofty goals.
Joe, what are some of the categories where we need to improve?
Well, in terms of the development of the policies publicly and in terms of statewide, one of the issues is that almost everything that gets considered in Augusta is viewed in isolation. There's no integration, there's no comprehensive strategic overview. And we've pushed pretty hard for the need for a strategic plan. I mean, Maine's in competition with other states. So we have to look at where we stand in terms of taxes, energy, healthcare costs, housing, education, and transportation. And how attractive are we for talent and investment? And first thing we did when we created the council was hire a consultant to do an evaluation of Maine's competitive standing. And it turns out we're in the bottom 10. They picked 22 categories. We were in the bottom 10 nationally in 19. West Virginia was in the bottom 10 in 15. Alabama and Mississippi, I think, were in the bottom 10 in 8. So Maine was in the bottom 10 and way more than almost any other state. And that is something that we haven't evaluated. We haven't tried to set goals to make us more competitive. And I think that's one of the significant changes. Beyond that, when the legislature looks at issues, there's virtually no research. There's no looking at the data. There's no integration and overview of how this particular bill is going to impact our competitive standing. And what we're failing to do is attract investment, talent, and jobs. Mm-hmm. We did a demographic study. There's a slight increase in the Maine population in most age groups, but a huge drain in the 18 to 24s. They're leaving. Mm-hmm. We train them. We've got excellent schools here for both the community college and UMaine, but our graduates leave because the economic opportunity isn't here. State average weekly wage, one of the lowest in the country. Less opportunity for growth. The population isn't growing, so people are leaving. We need to change our direction so that we can attract talent, investment, and jobs.
You hear that a lot, that the state of Maine is the oldest state. And I think throughout the pandemic, a lot of people who were close to retirement age said, okay, I'm out, I'm done. And so I think that we have to really kind of think about, as you're saying, like, we're losing those older skilled workers as they get tired of this whole situation, but we're also losing those young people too. So what are some of the things that we can do to retain workers? Because I know working for a company that is constantly hiring, you hear all the time, oh, nobody wants to work anymore, but that's silly. Everybody wants to work a little bit, right?
Oh, I hope so.
Nobody wants
Otherwise,
to
we're
work.
all in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I think Joe has some things that as to why the Maine Jobs Council is doing what we're doing, and we're trying to influence things that have a positive impact on the ability to create jobs and sustain jobs and be competitive in a market. We are number one in something. I don't know if you guys know what we're number one in. Do you guys want to take a guess?
I don't know. I don't.
Average age of worker?
No. Well, close. It's in that category.
What is it?
We have the oldest working population over 65 in the country.
Oh.
Which isn't really that surprising, right? We're the oldest, one of the oldest states in the
You
country.
hear it all the time.
And, you know, I know from my perspective, I have a lot of people that are in that category of, you know, we look at it every year, like how many people are retiring? Are they retiring this year, next year, the year after, 5 years? But there's a lot of people that are in that category. And I look at those people in what I do, right? In, you know, carpentry, let's say, for example. And I look at a person that's been with our company for 25 years, 30 years. We have a lot of senior people that have been with us for a long, long time. And I think people forget where they started when they were probably 15, but 18,
Right.
18 now. The older people get frustrated with some of the younger people. But I think the root of the frustration is, and what I'm seeing, is like we're trying to tell people to be work multipliers. So if you have two hands and you can get something done and you're frustrated because someone younger, you know, takes two people to maybe do what you used to be able to do on your own, you have to change your mentality. You got to be a teacher and a leader, and you have to have patience. When you're a doer, you're probably not a teacher. And so that is a challenge that we're all facing right now in every industry, because the aging population needs to share the wisdom that they've had and their skills and their knowledge so they can pass it down to 4 or 5 more people. And that's the only way that our economy is going to continue to grow. It's the only way that innovation, you know, is going to happen. We're going to be able to continue to move the needle forward in productivity and everything that we do. That is a very, very hard thing to accomplish in any business.
Yeah, that generational integration, like you're saying, like getting your workforce of 20-year-olds to work with your workforce of 60-year-olds and understand their mentality and mindset is hard.
It's a different mindset today when people are coming into the workforce than what it was when, you know, the people that are about to retire. Everything today is about me. When someone comes in as an employee in a company, it's what can you do for me? At least that's what I heard a lot of during COVID. And we were, you know, as a company, you need people as your most valuable resource. And, you know, and I think the older guard, that was the complete opposite. Right. And there was just a feeling of a much, much stronger work ethic. And I think that's where some of the older people are getting frustrated, because they just feel like it wasn't about them. It was what can they do to get ahead? What can they do extra to be in that position? You know, and I think right now it's probably the easiest time in the history of, say, mankind to be an excellent employee.
Yeah.
All you need is 2 things: attitude and effort. That's it. The rest is teachable. You got to show up. You got to work hard. You got to ask what you can do next.
Yeah.
And you just, you know, and if someone has that attitude, they're going to excel in life no matter where they are.
Our company hires for personality, and then we train everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just how it works.
Right.
Because you can't teach personality, right,
You
Sarah?
can't teach personality.
I've been trying for years.
I have tried and tried. I can't teach them.
What are we doing right
Yeah.
when it comes to our workforce?
Joe, you want to take that one?
We're all looking at Joe like,
Tim's
you
out.
must know.
We're going to be doing something right.
Well, I mean, the Maine Department of Labor came out a report at the end of 2024 saying that despite all the headwinds that the Maine economy faces in terms of having, you know, very high taxes. We have the highest property tax in the country, third highest overall tax, high cost of health care because we have so many hospitals spread out over the state, high cost of energy. It's cold, we burn oil, we don't produce it. We've got limited housing, but the saving grace is productivity.
I thought you were going to say how beautiful it is here, but okay.
Well, that's probably what keeps a number of us here.
Yeah,
who
for sure.
otherwise might have reason to go. But productivity, the main ability to innovate and work hard, the quality and skill of the workforce is probably what allows Maine employers to compete. But productivity is a function of having how many people at production, how many people are at work, how effectively they work, how skilled they are, and how much technology they have to support them. And all of those things require investment. And I think it was CNBC came out with a report that said per $1,000 of gross domestic product, the average venture capital investment in the United States per state is $8, roughly $8. Maine is 80 cents.
Wow.
We get 1/10 of the investment.
Wow.
And investment is, if you want to be a truck driver, somebody has to buy a truck. You got to have equipment, you got to have investment. Investment really is a bet on the future. It goes where there's growth and prosperity and the opportunity to succeed. And people aren't betting on Maine. And there are a number of reasons for that. But I think the policies that are hurting us have to do with, as I've mentioned, taxes, healthcare, energy, housing, and education. We don't look at those things comprehensively and say, okay, what do we have to do? Maine's, we've got a great environment. It's a great quality of life. They're great people here. There really is opportunity, but we're not attracting folks. And the reason, fundamentally, is in terms of the generation of public policy for the last maybe 20 or 25 years, we've gotten increasingly toxic and increasingly divided. And the problem is, with a small state like this, the first step before we can do any of these things is that we've got to work together. Mm-hmm. We have to stop. We have to stop fighting with ourselves and say, okay, look, whatever. I give these talks to folks, and sometimes I'm talking to the left, sometimes to the right. Whichever group I'm in, they're 100% right, and the other guys are 100% wrong. That goes without saying. If you're in whichever room, and as soon as you say something that diverges from the tribal view, you're not us, you're them. Well, we can't do that. We got to. Everybody's got to say, and we've got to reinvent compromise. I just read a study that said that if you're under 50 in the United States, never during your adult life has there been a time when the country wasn't divided. You've got to be older than 50 to go back to the 50s. Eisenhower ran against Adlai Stevenson, Kennedy and Nixon. Those presidential elections were hotly contested, but when they were over, the country came together. Right. Mm-hmm. And now, it's almost each election it gets more extreme. Yeah. It's a winner-take-all. Politicians have realized they don't need to lead the entire population. They just need to keep their base sufficiently motivated to reelect them, and the heck with the rest of the people, both sides. Yeah. And Maine really should be the poster child for overcoming that. The first step, what we're trying to do is say the first step is we have to transcend our differences. Everybody has to compromise on things that are important for the bigger goal of working together, rebuilding the economy, and helping keep our young people here and attract young families.
It makes all the sense in the world. It just doesn't, I can't wrap my head around why people don't understand that, like when they're so divided like that, and it's for the best of everybody.
It might go back to what Tim was saying about how the mindset of our workers is what can be done for me. And I think that's a mindset that a lot of people have is, well, it's what's best for me, not
instead
necessarily
of what's best for us.
Well, I think the technology, the internet and the ability to be in an echo chamber to select and only hear. When I was growing up, you had Walter Cronkite. Everybody listened to Walter Cronkite. Right. He was old Uncle Walter. That's where you got the national news. Now you can pick. Yeah. And you can pick someone who reinforces your views exclusively.
Right.
And people, it's more and more about individuals than it is about a national view.
I miss Dan Rather. He was my generation's Walter
There you go.
Cronkite. Miss Dan Rather.
Well, and I think, Maine's got an interesting challenge. Yeah, I kind of recognized it recently. I was played in a hockey tournament out in Berlin, New Hampshire with the Lewiston, a couple of my friends on the Lewiston PD. They asked me to go a few weeks ago. I drove up through western Maine. And, it was the very same experience that I have when I drive up to Sugarloaf. Once you get past Waterville, you start driving, you start looking around, pick your head up. And same thing, Western Maine. It's tough, right? You can start to see, the economic diversity, right? And we're such a big state geographically, and every 90%, or I don't know the number, but there's a significant percent of the people that just live in Southern Maine. We're all in this little tiny bubble for the most part. It's a challenge, but it also is an opportunity for the state to really think about how could we change the game. Someone needs to come in and make a change. That's what we need. We need change, not that's going to have a negative impact on people in Maine and Mainers, but just some way to be able to, utilize what we have here for our natural resources, our people. We've got great people. There are hardworking people. Yes. We're all in it for community, and we've moved back here, or we live here because we believe in the lifestyle, the family, the sense of community at your work, at your church, wherever, whatever it is. I think that's pretty unique in terms of nationally. I don't know that there's that sense of community everywhere you go around the world. I travel a lot, and I just see, I come back and I say, man, we live in a great place. Yeah. It's safe, sustainable. We don't like the weather, but, it gives us something to complain about, right? But something has to happen. Joe talks about transportation. I think, and kind of segue into, what I do in housing, what we've been doing a lot in housing. So Hebert Construction's been building a lot of housing. We build affordable housing. We build market rate housing, high-end $2.5 million condos in Portland, and
everything in between.
And everything in between.
Yeah.
And so I created this entity with Avesta Housing and another partner of mine, Jack Soley, that we created a company called Domus Dwellings. We're trying to create workforce housing at a large scale that is manufactured around the state of Maine, in all different areas of the state. And this is to bring for sale home ownership to the people of Maine, giving people, their first bite at the apple to develop the largest amount of equity that they could ever build in their lives. And, I don't know if we have enough time to talk about it all today, but the point I wanted to make with that is, as we work through various municipalities around the state of Maine, we've started in southern Maine because obviously the area median income is higher, and it allows for that to happen without government, federal, and state subsidies. So this is completely private enterprise. When I looked at the opportunity, in fact, I'm looking at an opportunity right now in Lewiston with the economic development director and mayor and everything, and trying to bring that scale of development to the Lewiston area. When we look at the cost of construction, the cost to build that product exceeds the area median income, what someone can afford in that income bracket. So right away, I have a financial gap in being able to succeed in creating that housing in Lewiston, Auburn. And Lewiston, Auburn is what are we? We're going to be the second largest city, in Maine.
Two cities together.
Right, when you put them all together. And so how is that even possible? Think about it. If Maine is now, and this is the way I look at it, when I talk to a lot of employers, myself included, over the last few years, most of the increase of our employees at middle management and above come from out of state. Some of them. Some are from in-state, but people relocated, and that happened to a lot of people. So you think about Maine Health, LL Bean, and those big companies, but a lot of companies in Maine, we're competing for employees on a national level, and therefore we have to pay national wages or close to it. And because the costs that we all incur every day for groceries, transportation, housing, healthcare, energy are so high, we don't have that competitive advantage that we feel like we used to have, 10 or 15 years ago, where you could attract somebody from Boston who's making $100,000, as a 25-year-old, but it cost him $120,000 to live in Boston, and you could say, hey, you can live off of a $75,000 a year salary here in Maine and live almost like a king if you live in central Maine, right?
Yeah.
And so there is an opportunity, as long as you're paying those national wages, to think about places like Lewiston, Auburn, Gray, New Gloucester, Waterville, like all these different areas that are not being considered at the scale that Southern Maine is, if we can just solve other problems in the state. Like, how do we improve transportation? We are a geographically challenged state.
Yeah.
It's just so big. It takes so long to get from one end to the other.
Yeah.
How do we make a difference there? How can the state get involved with that? And all of that, when you think about it, you start putting in rail or you do something else, you're gonna put people to work. You're gonna create jobs.
You're reducing the barriers that people are experiencing to get to work, to live in a central Maine area and go somewhere else to work. If they don't have a vehicle, that's a barrier, and there's no transportation. How are we going to get there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and wouldn't people rather, spend money buying a condo or a house that builds equity rather than a car that depreciates in value?
Yeah.
Right? So how do we do that at a scale that matters? Well, we can do some things, but then that's why, Joe and I are so passionate about this. I got on the Maine Jobs Council. I said, Joe, we can't make change at any pace that is driving me bananas, And so I'm like, what can I do? Well, I can help try to create housing for everyone, because that's what we need.
Right.
We're sitting here doing what we're doing at Maine Jobs Council, and we're just keep beating the drum, educating, and just advocating, and
planting the seed.
You got to do it all. Yeah. It has to be a three-legged stool. You have to. You can't. It can't just be in any one area.
Locally owned and locally focused, Lydia Media celebrates the heart of the greater Lewiston-Auburn area through 2 magazines, Uncle Andy's Digest and LA Metro Magazine, and the new Lydia's Lunch Bunch podcast. Each production shines a positive light on local businesses, nonprofits, events, and individuals making a difference in our community. Keep your advertising dollars local and position your business in front of your target audience with Lydia Media. Learn more at LLC.com. Both of you have been so generous with your time. I know that you have a hard out here in a few minutes. Is there anything that we have not covered that you would like to talk about in the last few minutes?
Well, I think just to sort of come back and look at the big picture, which is what we try to do. I mean, one of the other reasons that our politics, I think, has gotten so toxic is that politicians have figured out that they can get elected with a base. And it turns out it's easier and more effective to motivate a base with fear rather than hope. American politics used to be about hope.
Right.
And, we're going to the moon. We're doing great things. We're the bastion of democracy. We protect freedom all over the world. We're welcoming to people from other countries. Folks want, this is the one country everybody wants to live in. And we were, I think, a welcoming, caring nation and unified. But once we started deciding that we would drive wedges among ourselves for political ends, then the character changed, and that's affected Maine. So I think we need to recognize that we need to get back to looking positively, the kinds of things Tim was talking about how we grow the economy and jobs. The reason we're older than every other state is, we've got a population that's, all of us are aging, but the key to staying young is having young people on the front end of the pipeline filling it. We're not doing that.
Right.
And that's not a demographic statistic. That's an economic statistic. That's happening because the jobs aren't here. So we need to first of all transcend our differences, compromise on some of the issues that are of lesser significance, even though people may be very passionate about them, and then develop a strategic overview. We have to look at the big picture and all the issues: taxes, housing, energy, healthcare, transportation, to come up with a comprehensive plan to make Maine competitive and attract young people, jobs, and talent. It starts with jobs. And the idea, what we've been doing is, we've got a lot of individual problems. We got people, who are poor, people who need health care, people who need one thing or another. And the legislature responds to those with bullet sort of solutions, isolated. But the problem in the bigger picture is a lot of those short-term solutions are absolutely detrimental to an overall strategic success. That's what needs to change.
I have one question that hopefully you can answer kind of briefly. If there's a couple of things that any person, whether they're 18 or 68 or 88, can do to help this dilemma.
Well, I think
what would you
everybody
say?
could talk to their local politicians, the
Advocate.
reps and the senators, and say, look, we're tired of
Okay. Yeah.
division. We need compromise.
Right.
Yes, the other guys are 100% wrong, but we need to work with them.
Right. Yeah.
And we need
That's the only way to come to a
and emphasize that jobs start everything else, because it's your productivity and the people that are working. When you've got people working, they pay taxes. And those taxes are what enable you to do all the things that you want to do to help people. You suppress the jobs, you suppress the productivity, you suppress the taxes, you're now sort of constraining and making your state poorer. And that's where Maine
Right.
is. So
all right.
Contact your elected official.
Reach out and tell them to compromise.
Yes. That should be easy.
It should, yeah.
Yeah, it should
so
be easy.
simple.
Tim, any parting thoughts?
I don't think I can top Joe's holistic view of everything. It is great. We share that common theme, and I can't top that. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
thank you.
We so appreciate your time. Tim Hebert, owner, Hebert Construction, and Joe Edwards, board chair of the Maine Jobs Council. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and thank you for giving us a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, and for the good work
found
you're
one in there.
doing.
I found
yeah,
one in there.
we found some hope. It's good.
Sarah, do you want to end with a song?
No.
I feel like there should be a song about hope, and we need a ukulele in there.
Ukulele. Yeah.
It's too much pressure, guys.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Don't play that weather song. Don't you do it. Keep your finger off that button.
Thanks to our sponsors for today, Ruper's Beverage and Redemption and United Piping. And if you'd like to be part of the Lydia's Lunch Bunch advertising family, reach out to Pam via email at pam@lydiamediallc.com.
Have a great day. And remember, don't bite your cat.